Mayor of Selma, North Carolina.
Okay.
Sally Green, County Commissioner, Orange County.
You let me know when we're ready.
Sounds like downtown Chapel Hill is beginning to shift itself around. Yes,
Is
indeed.
there an etiquette that I need to?
Huh?
Buildings. County's tearing down here, buildings and strip clubs.
When you're ready.
Okay.
You ready?
I think we're ready whenever you are. Just make sure there wasn't anybody else.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Deidreana Freeman, your chair for the COG. And I want to welcome you all and say, give me grace. This is my first meeting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just making sure. We'll cut it with green.
And I just want to make sure folks online can hear.
We can hear you well.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
We can, we're actually seeing the presenter's view of the display.
Oh, great. Before we do begin, I do want to just take a moment of pause, just acknowledging there's always so much going on in the world, and just take a few brief seconds, honestly, to just be here and be with you all. Just like a moment of silence. Breathe.
Hello, friends. I apologize for interrupting, but this is John Bonnets, zooming from Pittsburgh, and I regret that I have to be here by telephone and wanted to go on mute, but wanted to report that I am present.
Thank you for reporting during our moment of silence.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. I am red-faced.
We're rolling. We're rolling right on through.
My apologies.
Before we do take roll, I do want to welcome and announce our new representative from Lee County, Mr. Bill Carver, has joined us today. I want to welcome you. Thank you. And I'm just making sure we are live streaming. And just note that the state states that all votes will need to be conducted by a roll call to comply with laws around virtual meetings. And Chantel will call the roll each time for the vote as needed. And I'll ask Chantel, can you call the roll?
All righty. Well, good evening, everyone. I will say the local government or jurisdiction. Please let me know if you are present. Aberdeen.
Wilma Lady present.
Thank you. Anger.
Mayor Bob Smith, present.
Apex. Archer Lodge. Vincent.
Cassandra Stack present.
Thank you. Broadway.
Town of Broadway, Thomas Beal, present.
Cameron. Scarborough.
Randy Haven O'Donnell, present.
Thank you. Carthage. Carrie.
Jennifer Robinson, present.
Thank you. Apple Hill. Chatham County. Clayton. City of Durham.
Adriana Freeman, present.
Durham County. Fuquay Varina. Garner. Golston. Hillsborough. Holly Springs.
Holly Springs is present.
Thank you. Johnson County. Kinley. Nightdale.
Mayor Jessica Day, present for Nightdale.
Thank you. Lee County.
Bill Carver, present.
Micro. Moore County. Mooresville. Orange County.
Sally Green, present.
James Etta Bedford, alternate present.
Thank you. Pine Level. Pinehurst.
Jeff Morgan, present.
Pittsburgh.
Town of Pittsburgh, Pamela Baldwin, present.
And John Bonnet's alternate present.
Thank you. Princeton.
Long Rains, present.
Raleigh. Robbins. Roseville.
Michelle Metley, Town of Roseville, present.
Thank you. Stanford.
Rebecca Salmon, City of Sanford, present.
Selma.
Byron McAllister, Town of Selma, present.
Siler City.
Bill Hagus, Town of Siler City, present.
Thank you. Smithfield.
Andy Moore, present.
Southern Pines. Bass. Lake County.
Susan Evans, present.
Thank you. Wake Forest.
Chad Siri, Wake Forest present.
Thank you. Wendell.
Wendell Joe Deloach here, and also have Commissioner Eatman alternate on the line as well.
Thank you. Wilson's Mills.
David McGowan, Wilson's Mills, present.
Thank you. Zebulon. All right, is anyone present I may have missed?
One that just came in.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Anyone else online?
And we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to move through our agenda, so we might be able to get out of here by 10 o'clock tonight. And first, just a review of any additions or any changes anyone wants to make. Hearing none, I'll move to the next item, which is a recognition and presentation of our past chair, Kathleen Ferguson, and our outgoing officer, Mark Wilson. Is there something specific?
Yeah, you can feel free to say anything you'd like about them, and then we'll provide them back virtually.
I'd like to first just take a moment and appreciate our previous past chair, Kathleen Ferguson. Just acknowledging how tirelessly she worked in making sure that I was in attendance at all of them. I'm just kidding. She really led us through a strategic plan and led us through COVID in a way that I can appreciate. And I do want to make sure I'm looking you in the eye on the screen, Kathleen, and saying thank you. And I'm sure that everyone else would like to thank you as well. And so just lead a round of applause. And at the same time, I would love to just recognize Mark Wilson and acknowledge, I don't know if it's on the call.
I haven't seen him yet.
And his tireless work on the board as an executive committee member over the years and as an officer. It's been appreciated. Is there anything else?
I'll just say on behalf of the staff to our past chair and past officer, Mr. Wilson, and past chair Ferguson, how much we appreciate as staff, the fact that you supported our staff through some pretty difficult times with COVID. Both of you were always extremely positive, extremely supportive, always had the well-being of our staff at the forefront of your thoughts and your concern, and the staff really did feel that and appreciate that. And Kathleen as chair, I appreciate your leadership and your assistance to me as the director. It was really invaluable and really do appreciate it very much. And you extended that leadership by being present at the forum meetings, the COG Association forum meetings, and always being a staunch advocate of regionalism and cooperation and collaboration among our local governments. And even though Mr. Wilson's not here tonight, Mark was, I don't think you can find a more positive person just about the COG and about life, and his passion for veterans. And you can see that in Arch Lodge with the Veterans Memorial that's right there next to Town Hall. He carried that on to his service with the board. And I just cherish the conversations we had about all sorts of different things. So both wonderful officers and wonderful board members, and we're lucky that they're continuing service on the Board of Delegates. Thank you,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Thank you, thank you. And I will say that Kathleen is not off the hook. She is leading a committee and will be present, so. And just noting that you will receive your lovely plaques when we do see you next.
That's right. Absolutely.
Thank you. If you'd like to say anything, Kathleen, I don't know if she unmuted. You're muted. Still muted. There.
Say in just a second.
Well, a few times she's muted.
Nope, still not.
Yeah, you're muted, Kathleen, sorry.
That's okay. I think you can add it in the chat and I'll read it out.
There you go. There you go.
It's okay.
She's waving.
Yeah, she's gonna put it in the chat.
Could I rudely interrupt? This is Ken Marshman. I'm sorry I didn't get on earlier, but I think I'm live now. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And just moving on to our business. We're doing our first item is an overview of aging and human services. I'm sorry. Before we get there.
New staff, yeah.
Yes, let's talk about our new staff. Welcome our new staff.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Jenny Halsey, the assistant ED here. I also do HR for the organization, and we have grown significantly in the past couple of years. And so we have a couple new additions over the past few months. I believe it's been since the spring since we've done some new employee introductions. So I'm going to hand it over to Matt Day, our Director of Transportation, to introduce his new staff member first.
So in our transportation group, one of the big projects we work on is the Triangle Area Rural Planning Organization, which does transportation planning for Chatham, Lee, Moore, and the rural parts of Orange County. And we have hired Carol Fuller as our new senior planner to run our TARPO program. So I'm going to hand things over to Carol.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. I just wanted to say I've generally worked in the RPL region. Previously, I've spent the last 14 years at what used to be called Isothermal Planning and Development Commission, is now Foothills Regional Commission. And I spent the last almost 10 years as the RPO director. I did start out as a GIS person back in the day. I won't say how long ago. And I have spent, and I started off my career in California in Riverside. I moved home around 2000 to Vermont. And I spent about a decade working for regional planning commissions, which are like COGS, but they only do the planning function. And then I moved, as I said, to Isothermal and became the RPO director there. I will say my family is originally from Vermont as well, but I've led the Scout Party down here. My sister moved down about 6 months after I did, and my mother actually lives here in Garner as well. So that's pretty much my history with the region. As Matt already said, I'll be working on the Triangle Area Rural Planning Organization, and we provide planning support to Moore and Lee counties, as well as most of Chatham and parts of Orange. And that's pretty much it. In my spare time, I do like to travel. Vermont, of course, back into New England and Florida. My hobbies are reading at home, hanging out with my daughter and my cat. And I'm trying to relearn German. I had a bachelor's in German, and I've been using Duolingo. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Have you here, as we all are, but especially Matt. All right, next I'd like to introduce Tara Natras, who is our new management analyst. Her supervisor is Elena Keegan, who I know probably everybody in this room knows, but she is in a grad school class tonight and could not make it. But we are happy to have Tara on board. Management analyst is a brand new position for the COG. She's been with us since about May, I think, mid-May. And she is working mostly on our American Rescue Plan and our new grant assistance program. So I will turn it over to Tara, who is here in the room with us.
Thanks. Yeah, so prior history and experience in the region. I'm from Raleigh originally. Well, I was born in Durham, but grew up in Raleigh. Previously, I was at NCDQ with their Division of Environmental Assistance and Customer Service in the Recycling and Materials Management section, which is a mouthful, working on recycling technical assistance to local governments. So I have experience at the state level working with multiple local governments and with grants, because we did some grant making function out of that office as well. Before that, I was at Fountain Works, which is a consulting firm. They do mostly public consulting work in the Triangle area. So I did some strategic planning work. I did facilitation and graphic note taking and leading conversations with groups. And before that, I was in grad school at UNC and have my MPA. So that's what that is. Sorry. No, it's okay. So like Jenny said, I'll be working mostly with the American Rescue Plan, including with the town of Goldston on their American Rescue Plan work, and doing grant assistance work and technical assistance, basically broadly requests from members and giving any help that I can to the organization. In my spare time, I like shell collecting at the beach, drawing and painting, traveling. My picture at the beginning was from Iceland, because that's where I was most recently about 2 months ago. And then spending time with my cats who are, I got some bonus pictures in there for you if you want to see some.
That's awesome. Thank you, Tara. And next up, I'm actually going to do 2 quick introductions because some folks in the room may not know Nancy Medlin, who is our interim finance director. We are so happy to have her on board. She's been with us since mid-December, January, filling in this role. She was previously with the town of Clayton for 23 years as finance director and deputy town manager, and has been a huge asset to the COG for the past few months. So she is going to introduce her new accounting tech. So I wanted to take time to introduce her.
And I am thrilled to introduce Caleb Register, who is in the table area in person. Caleb started with the COG in about mid-May. He came to us from Lumber River COG, which was a huge plus. Since he's been on board, he's hit the ground running. He's helped us to identify and implement really needed policy changes in finance. He's taken on some major projects in aging and transportation. And he is doing a great job integrating himself with the staff here at the COG. And I'll let him tell you some more personal details about it, but he's been a huge asset to our team.
Thank you, Nancy. Like she said, I was formerly at the Lumber River Council of Governments. I was assistant finance director there. I was there for about 2 years. I got my undergraduate degree from Campbell University. I'm currently working on my MBA at UNCP. And I recently moved to the region I am currently living in currently. A little bit about what I'll be working on. I'll be working with the accounts payables and receivables and payroll. I'll also have some responsibilities in the budgeting and audit process. Like Nancy said, I'll be working with aging and transportation, which will be the ARMS, MPO, and TDM reporting, and more. Outside of my work and education, I enjoy playing golf and music. I enjoy going to state parks and trails with my dog, which I do not have pictures of, unfortunately. I like going to the mountains and also like going out to eat.
Thank you, Caleb. All right, well, welcome everybody. We're happy to almost be fully staffed again. So. All right.
If I can, just real quick on the staff announcements, because I realized there's a couple other changes that I don't think we've really announced at the board level that I wanted to make sure to recognize and say thank you about. One of those is Jenny, who I think since the last board meeting has been promoted to assistant executive director. I'm really pleased about that because Jenny is going to be basically managing the internal operations of the organization. So she'll have responsibility for administration, HR, day-to-day finance responsibilities will report to her, which allows me more time to focus on members and work with our strategic leadership team members to make sure that we're providing the services and carrying out our strategic plan as this board expects. So thank you, Jenny, for agreeing to take on the role and putting up with me. I appreciate it. The other one that I wanted to, or a couple others I wanted to announce, I don't know if Matt's been in person since his promotion. It's been a few months, but Matt was promoted to Director of Transportation. We combined our rural and metro transportation functions into one effort. And Matt is just doing a fabulous job managing and leading our transportation team. As you all know, transportation is a really critical issue for this region, and Matt's the right person to help us think through those issues. So Matt, thank you for agreeing to take on that responsibility. And the latest one is Lindsay Whitson. Lindsay is now the director of our Community and Economic Development Department. Unfortunately, Erica Brown, who many of you know, is going to be leaving the organization. A year or two ago, Erica needed to move to St. Louis. And she's been working really remotely for a couple years and has just done a fabulous job. But over the last year or so, we've been talking about her desire to maybe have a job. She's probably not coming back to the region. She's wanting to look for something in the area where she is now. And it was a good opportunity to think about how our housing and our community economic development focus areas can work more effectively together. And so we have done that with Lindsay leading both those focus areas and the staff under those groupings. So we're really excited about those changes and appreciate the board's continued support with the budget to allow for those to occur. So just wanted to make those additional announcements. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great. You just forgot to mention Durham, as all of the new staff members managed to do. And so you should say the word Durham.
Durham.
So thank you. And as we move forward to the business, the overview of aging and human services strategic focus area, I'm going to ask Janisha Henningham. I'm hoping I'm not messing up. Hennigan. And Carolyn Pennington to introduce the item.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Janisha Hennigan. I'm the Assistant Director for the Heritage Agency on Aging. And this evening, we just want to give you an overview about aging and human services. Clearly, we don't have enough time to tell you all, but hopefully it's enough that it brings aging to the forefront of your thoughts when you're thinking about your areas. First, I want to take the moment to acknowledge and thank Commissioner Sally Green, who serves on as our chairperson of our Region Advisory Council on Aging. And so members of our Aging Advisory Council are appointed older adults, volunteers representing each of the 7 counties in the region. And that membership also includes delegates, alternates of the senior target legislature, which is a body created by the North Carolina General Assembly. So I just want to give a couple minutes just to see if Commissioner Green would like to say anything.
Sure. Thank you, Janisha and Carolyn. Welcome. And I look forward to this presentation and to others understanding some of the great work that goes on through this agency. And we have only met twice in person since I've been at the helm, and I've only been there once in person. And I've only been chairing for maybe going on 2 years now. And that was already in COVID. So a lot of what's been happening that I've appreciated is how well the agency has maneuvered and embraced this challenge of the new realities. And I don't know if you're going to talk about this, but I just did want to highlight the American Rescue Plan money that's going to come through the state to the agencies, and is going to be very welcome for things like almost $7 million in additional funding for congregate meals and home meals, family caregiver support strategies, $4 million. Help for the ombudsman, and that's been a struggle during COVID, is to get the ombuds program back and running. And then a lot of $14 million worth of funding for really important support services that are going to target depression, suicide, those types of issues, and provide some digital resources to people. So it's really been just gratifying to see not only the resources coming, but Mary Warren and her leadership and the staff really embracing the challenge. So I appreciate that.
Like I said, can't cover everything, but hopefully it will pique your interest more about aging. And I also like to acknowledge our director, Mary Warren. I'm not sure if she's online with us this evening or not.
Yep, she's there.
All right, so just to start off with the Triangle J Area Agency on Aging, we're part of a national network of federal and state and local offices established to facilitate planning programs and services for aging adults. and those who care for them. So there are 5 core function areas for the Area Agency on Aging. As you can see, there's advocacy, planning, program and resource development, information coverage, and funds administration and quality assurance. So that advocacy is happening on the federal level, the state level, and the local level. And like I mentioned earlier, we have our senior Tar Heel legislators that go to like our state, on our state level advocating for issues for older adults. We also provide feedback to the state on aging issues and service delivery. We look at strategic planning that addresses issues and needs for older populations. We provide technical assistance to our local aging service providers and also to the counties. Of course, there's education and training. And one thing, because there's a lot of funding, which I'll get to later, we monitor those funds that go out to the county, so our service providers, to make sure quality assurance programs are meeting the requirements that are set by the state. We also facilitate the cooperation relationships within the counties. So for example, I participate with a lot of Wake County activities. So the Live Well Wake campaign in Wake County, I've been a member of that. We've had staff members who've been a part of like the Durham Master Aging Plan or the Orange County Master Plan. So we try to make sure within our region and in the counties and our local governments that we're there to be a voice for older adults. We also get referrals as well. And so people call, we have a toll-free number. So our goal is to try to connect them to resources that are within our region with our local service providers. And we also provide, other information as much as we can. So one thing we do, we administer about $9.5 million in federal Older Americans Act money, and it's state pass-through funding as well. And it provides support for, as you can see, our in-home aid services, home delivered meals, information and assistance programs, and legal assistance to individuals. We have our senior centers, which some of you may be familiar with in your areas, and congregate meal sites. We have medical and general transportation, caregiver support groups, and some of our evidence-based programs. The Home and Community Care Block Grant is a bundle of federal and state funding, with federal being the largest part of that. So in North Carolina, funds are funneled from the state, and then our local governments determine how those funds are distributed. As the Area Agency on Aging, we fund the county programs on aging through grant agreements with the Board of County Commissioners and community service providers. So where you live can determine what is available. And when we distribute those funds, how much a county gets is based on a funding formula, which can be based on census data as well. So when they say your zip code determines a lot, that definitely is true. Services allowable under the Home and Community Care Block Grant are intended to provide in-home and community-based services in support of older adults and for their unpaid caregivers. So these services are available for those age 60 and older, targeting those with the greatest social and economic needs, and those eligibility can be dependent upon what the specific service is. So one of the foundational requirements for us as an Area Agency on Aging is a development implementation of a 4-year plan for aging. And that coordinates our local efforts with aging plans at the state and federal level. So our current regional aging plan is in progress now. So we started it in 2020 to 2024. So right at when the pandemic started. The 4-year regional plan of aging is approved by our advisory council, and is also approved by our Council of Government Board of Delegates and the North Carolina Division of Aging and Adult Service. And so the current state aging plans timeframe is in progress also, but about to end. So it's from 2019 to 2023. So you see how they kind of overlap with each other. And we're about to start the new planning for the new state aging plan, which provides us, like I said, our plans pretty much tell us the work that we're going to do. As you see the dates, a lot of things started, these plans started right at COVID, and that's when the world changed, and probably the needs and that were initially thought of, COVID kind of changed that thought process. So as we're moving into the new plans, we're definitely thinking about looking at the future and what needs there need to be. So like I stated, the new state agent plan is beginning to start. So they're starting the planning process. You may see later in your own areas, listening sessions where they try to get the consumer voice and stakeholder voices and what they're looking at for a state agent plan. But those plans are guided, there's guidances. So the Older Americans Act, some of the things that they're looking at are social isolation, caregiving, nutrition, and as Commissioner Green talked about, even during the pandemic, how we increased the amount of funds that went to nutrition programs, especially now, with the ARPA funds as well. And under the current administration, some of the things that they're looking at is COVID-19 recovery, advancing equity, expanding access to home and community-based services, and building caregiver infrastructure. Some of the state plan topics include looking at the Older American Act core program. So some of the things I mentioned before, like the in-home aid services, congregate meals, and things like that. COVID-19 equity, expanded access to home and community-based service and caregiving. So some things are repeated topics, caregiving and expanding services. And in addition to all these other plans that we have, starting our own agent plan and also a new state agent plan, there are other plans that are about to start and looking at. So there's a master plan on aging that's a big that is going to begin, a dementia capable North Carolina strategic plan, a healthy aging task force, and a adult protective service improvement plan. And also here at the COP, we're working on our current strategic plan that's going to look at goals for us as an aging, as our focus area on aging and human services. So the main point is to make sure that we have all these things aligned and that we're addressing the needs for older adults. And then as we think about it, as the aging population is increasing. And I don't think that's a mystery to anyone, but I don't know if we're fully gathered the impact that might have. I believe in this region, I believe alone in less than 20 years, the older adult population is expected to double. So it's trying to think about, are we prepared for what we say, expanded resources, to making sure that we're expanding resources in an equitable and accessible way for all. And then also to think about with the population, before pre-pandemic, and then of course during the pandemic, we all know the workforce, direct care workforce is a challenge right now. And so how do we maintain workers? Are there enough workers to sustain some of the services that we have? So those are some things to think about. And we have some of our baby boomers who are getting older, living longer as well, but also will need services. And the rising costs of everything, housing, rent, groceries, those things also impact older adults. I would like to give an example. So even during the pandemic, we think about the workforce. One of the challenges, during COVID, there was a lot of money, CARES funding that helped with nutrition programs and some other services. But two counties in particular, Chatham and Johnston County, in response to some of the workforce issues, they looked at using funds to support consumer-directed care. Some older adults during the pandemic, of course, they didn't want people coming into their homes. And then there was no one to come into the homes because there was, no workers. And we're talking about some parts of the counties where it's more rural, where it's harder to find direct care workers. And so they utilize their funds to support a consumer-directed care program. And it allowed those participants in the program to hire family members or friends or people they know to be their in-home aid. So we're gonna have to look at maybe some ways to expand in different avenues to make sure that we address the direct care workforce. So even though we're aging in human services, and like I said, we have all these plans that are, that we have coming up, our strategic plan, we want to make sure everything aligns. But I think even when we look at, our other focus areas, transportation or, economic development, I think as a common goal as our region, we want communities in our region that are livable, equitable, and inclusive for all individuals of all ages, right? And that can support health and well-being for our older adults and persons with disabilities. So that is affordable housing, that's accessible transportation throughout our region, that's clean air, that's clean water. So as you can see how our focus areas in general align with us as age, even though we're dealing with somewhat direct with our older population, but we do align with our other focus areas. We also want to expand agent services and supports in an equitable and inclusive way. And we desire to have a sufficient workforce to help us deal with the growing aging population as well. And another part of our organization are our long-term care ombudsman. So our long-term care ombudsman, they advocate on behalf of residents in our region, in our nursing homes, adult care homes, our assisted livings, and our family care homes. So I will use this as a segue to go to my colleague, Carolyn Pennington, to talk about our long-term care ombudsman program.
Hey, everybody, I am Carolyn Pennington, and I am one of the 5 ombudsmen in our region, and I serve the facilities in Moore and Johnston counties. Did you know that the Ombudsman Program is the only entity in the long-term care system that's the sole mission is to advocate for the residents and facilities, and we advocate for their rights. And in my opinion, the road to the implementation of the Ombudsman Program began in 1965 when Medicaid and Medicare came into being. I say that because there were a ton of nursing homes that started going up all over the place. And when all the nursing homes went up, the next handful of years, the publicity was horrible about the care, the horrible, horrible care in the nursing homes. There was a neglect, abuse, and substandard conditions. So after all of that, it led to the congressional hearings around 1970. And as a result of the hearings, a man named Dr. Arthur Fleming, who served under 5 presidents, kind of like Fauci, I think he was under 7. But Dr. Fleming has served under 5 presidents. And after the congressional hearings, he concluded that the residents in facilities are powerless. And he felt that there needed to be somebody at the local level to be able to come in and talk to the residents and try to help them solve some of their complaints. So Nixon rolled out a pilot program, and I think there were 7 or 9 states, and we were not one of them. But in North Carolina, the program was implemented in 1978. And then under the Older Americans Act. And then 3 years later, that was just nursing homes. And 3 years later, it expanded to the assisted livings. In North Carolina, there were 37 ombudsmen. And we are all housed in the area agencies on aging and the COGS. And the volunteers the volunteers that are within the program, they work and live in the county that they serve, which they serve. And they are appointed by the county commissioners, and they are trained by the ombudsman. And generally, when we go into the facilities, we are respected by the staff. And the reason why is because we are the advocates. The regulators are at the state level, and the regulators cite them on things. As advocates, we don't do any of that. So they're very receptive to the ombudsman coming in. And if we have complaints from residents and we want to sit in, I always like to sit down at the table, everybody at the table, so we're all hearing the same thing. they're very receptive to that, and they try to fix things for the residents' sake, because nobody wants the regulators in the building. And everybody knows that any of us can call the regulators at the state anytime we want. So they really don't mind us, the advocates, being in there. I thought it might be of interest to you all to hear about a few of the different cases that we have. So I've got 4 that I wanted to share with you. We get all sorts of cases and none of them are the same. But one of them was I had a resident in a nursing home who had dementia, and she kept falling out of her bed. And she would fall out. The first time she really hurt her head on the nightstand. So they moved the nightstand and then they lowered the bed as low as it would go. But she kept falling out on the hard floor. All the daughter wanted was a landing pad put by her bed to soften her fall. She asked the administrator, and the administrator told her that the corporate said they couldn't do that because when the staff would come in to give mom care, they would trip on it. So she called me, and I got her consent to investigate this. So I went and visited mom, and then I spoke with the administrator, and I said, well, we would like a landing pad. And he told me the same thing, that no, corporate says that the staff will trip on it when they're giving mom care. He also said she has a right to fall.
What?
She has a right to fall. Okay. I've heard that elsewhere also.
Make the whole room a land.
So I said to him, I would like to schedule a meeting with the daughter and with you, and I would like for corporate to be invited to the meeting. And he called me that afternoon, the administrator did, and he told me that corporate changed their mind, and now there's a landing pad by her bed. So all it takes is a little soft push sometimes, right? Another thing that is sort of important to know is that residents can be discharged from facilities, not because they don't like them, not because they don't like the family member, but there's 6 reasons why they can be discharged. And one of the reasons is behaviors. Behaviors where it could be a safety thing for the resident himself or herself, or safety for other residents. So there was a resident in a memory care unit in one of the nursing homes, and she had been there for a few years. And the daughter called me and said that they have given her a discharge notice. It's a 30-day discharge notice. And the ombudsman always gets it from a nursing home. That is part of CMS's rule. We have to get it. And my name and number are on it. So the daughter knew to call me. And the first thing I do is I usually tell them to appeal it, because it says you can appeal it within 11 days. So just to buy time, I say appeal it. And then the ombudsman can be there to help advocate on behalf of the resident. And it goes to a hearing, and it's a hearing officer who's an attorney. So in any event, the daughter called me, she gave me consent, she appealed, she put in for the appeal. And I went to the facility, met the resident, and then started investigating. Well, with her written consent, I can get into the resident's records, which I had. So I started going through the records and going through her medications and her charts. And every time they said she had a behavior, there was a medication change. Every time in her whole chart, because she didn't usually have behaviors, but where there were behaviors mentioned, there was a medication change. It never failed. So I called a meeting with the administrator and the daughter, and the regional person was involved. And I explained the same thing to them. And then the regional person said, well, we're going to rescind, like tear it up, rescind the discharge, because if it went to a hearing, we, the facility, would lose. So that was a win for the resident, and she got to stay. And I'm really glad she did, because whenever I go to that facility, I would go visit her. So that was a good one. Now this is an assisted living. There's a resident in there who loves her glass of wine at dinner, which many people do. And so she got a doctor to write an order that she have 5 ounces of wine with her meal. The facility bought 5-ounce cups. Okay, so think about it. So the resident realized that she was being shorted, right? Or an ounce, they said she was probably getting 3.5 ounces. She wasn't an alcoholic, but I don't blame her for wanting the full 5 ounces. So.
Prescription.
That's right. So the daughter contacted the ombudsman, it wasn't me, contacted the ombudsman. And the ombudsman investigated how she was supposed to. And she told the administrator that you are going against doctor's orders because it says 5 ounces. So the facility bought 8-ounce cups. They now measure the 5 ounces and pour it in. She's happy. She's happy. Because we do we are very concerned about their quality of life. So we do advocate for that as well. The fourth one and final one I wanted to share with you is that this is a current one with me. It's a nursing home. And a resident had called me because she didn't feel like she was getting, she thought she was getting poor care. She didn't think, she thought she was getting that they were not treating her with dignity and respect. And she didn't feel like she was just being treated right, period. She thought the staff was rude to her. So like I said, the first thing I like to do is to get everybody around the table. So we scheduled a meeting and we had about 8 staff members there and they were very receptive because they're very receptive. They don't want the state in, so let's fix this now. So the resident who was 49 years old, she was in a rehab in the nursing home. She'd been there for 3 weeks when she called me and all she wanted to do was get enough strength to go back home. So she told them all of her concerns about her care and about the dignity and respect. And they were very receptive and they said, this is what we're going to do to fix this and, you know, all that. I pointed out to them, I had resident right brochures, which I have given each one of you, which is the green nursing home brochure. You don't have to get it now, I'm just telling you. And for those of you who aren't here, Elena will send them with the after action report when she sends that. But I pointed out 4 rights that were being violated and we went over each one and they didn't deny it. They were in agreement and they were saying how they were going to fix it. Towards the end of the meeting, the resident said through tears, she said, I just want to be treated like a human being and not a dog. And not a dog. Maya Angelou has a quote that says something like, people will forget what you said and people will forget what you did, but people will not forget how you make them feel. And as resident advocates, when the ombudsman go in to advocate for the residents in the facilities, it's very important to us to make sure that they are treated with dignity and respect. And at the very least, to be treated as a human being and not an animal. So if you all have any questions, if there's any time, I'll be glad to take them.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm sure we all do. I will say that the stories help to retain the information a whole lot more easier than our policymaker over here with the numbers. And so I want to thank you for sharing the stories. It does make a difference. And if there are questions, the floor is open online. And if you want to raise your hand or anyone.
Can I ask a question? First, I'm new here and I don't know how far in the weeds I may be getting. And if I just need to be told to be quiet and you'll talk to me later, that'd be fine. It so happens that my wife and I help with an 83-year-old woman who basically is homebound. So she's isolated. So one of the issues that we try to deal with is that isolation. But she's in a position where she had a CNA, but because of a lack of CNAs in Lee County, she's told that, I'm sorry, we just can't provide somebody for 6 months. Now that CNA went to the store for her, provided help getting on and off the transportation, et cetera, you know, all the kind of things that these people who have a very good heart are. And I'm just curious, is that a very quick explanation of the problem? Is that a county problem, or is that something that you all can deal with? Are we so hard up for CNAs that's a reality? And if it is, how are we trying to fix the hole? The other associated question would be, it's interesting that we have an ombudsman that goes in to the nursing homes. You know what would make a big difference to this lady would be an ombudsman that's working a problem with homebound people. I don't know whether or not that person exists or not, or whether or not there's a parallel somewhere. But those are the two issues, as you ladies very capably explained things, that came to my mind.
Yeah, and I think your latter part is a bigger issue everywhere. Yes, you know, certain counties may be a little more rural. It's harder. Like I mentioned, the 2 counties, but even in our bigger, you know, city areas, it's a lot of CNAs left the workforce, you know, especially during it was already hard before the pre-pandemic. There's not enough, you know, direct care workers for even just the population, as we say, a growing older population who may need care. But then during the pandemic, it was like people left. And some may be returning, but it's still an issue. So I don't think it's just isolated to Lee County, you know, but probably Lee County is probably a little harder county to find maybe, you know, some of those CNAs. And then as far as like the ombudsman, like someone coming in, you know, that might not, you know, might not be a bad idea, like, you know, the advocate in home, but, you know, so many people who that'll be working overtime type ombudsman, you know, trying to fulfill those needs.
we who go into facilities wouldn't be doing that, but maybe somebody else at some point could get that. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just about to say, I think it's great that you and your wife are providing the contact. I think people underestimate how important that is, you know, just checking in on someone. You know, some places used to have like assurance kind of, you know, check-ins, and like the Center for Volunteer Caregiving, I think they have that program. It's not everywhere, but if we as individuals, as the neighbors, do things like how you're doing, just, you know, checking in to help with that social isolation as well. I think, you know, that's a big help in itself.
I have a question. This is Cassandra Stack from Benson. First of all, I'd like to say this plan sounds very interesting. And second of all, there's definitely a shortage as far as caregivers and CNAs. I do work for UNC. I recruit for nurses as well as CNAs. And there is a huge shortage, even in our facilities, as far as our long-term care is a huge shortage of CNAs, and even with the sign-on bonuses, it's still not enough. The question I have to ask about your current program, how does this affect a person that does not have Medicaid, they have Medicare and an insurance, as far as getting in-home assistance, but because they have insurance, it won't cover an in-home assistant. So how does this, you know, this plan assist someone like that? They need the care, but they don't have Medicaid, so they don't qualify for in-home assistance. And the reason I'm asking is because I find that quite often with patients that we discharge, and also just people in my community as a whole, you know, I hear them saying, well, I was discharged from the hospital. I have home health coming out for a couple of weeks, but after that, I can't get assistance because I don't have Medicaid.
So our programs with the block grant, it's not dependent upon if they have Medicaid or not. It's a, you know, grant program for those within that age group. I told you 60 and plus. It more comes probably, you know, with grant funding. You have to, the number of people and the number of, you know, the amount of funding you have enough to, you know, cover. There are waiting lists in some of our counties with some of our service providers for those who are looking for in-home aid. So yeah, but we're not dependent upon it. That's a whole other conversation, even with those who need services, yeah, for Medicaid. as well. And when insurance gets it, and a lot of people think certain insurance paid for certain, paid for in-home, like they would, I have Medicare, it pays for in-home. Not necessarily. So, and I think that comes down to just a lot of education that we need to do. As far as education on payer sources, when you're looking at difference between Medicare and Medicaid, some of that block grant funding and what people are, can benefit people. And I think that goes into just age planning. I think we all could benefit from that as well, just kind of understanding that.
Thank you. And that's a great segue into the follow-up and just acknowledging that the next meeting for this committee.
I don't know when it is.
The next meeting for this committee will be.
Do you know when it is? September 20th, is that it?
Oh, you're talking about the agent advisory?
Yeah.
Oh. I have to look at the calendar. That's
Yeah.
I think it would be great to continue the conversation. Just knowing I don't want to rush anyone through it. It'll be important to make sure that you all know when that meeting is so that you can attend. September 20th. And I want to encourage everyone to participate because I know we all have aging populations in our community. So,
and we could certainly, because I know that we're sort of compressed for time, but we can talk to Mary, Janisha, and Carolyn and the aging team about maybe coming back at another board meeting here in a couple months and continuing the discussion. We're doing some different things to continue to educate and get you the information you need. I think Smith may have had her hand up.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I just really need to get more information about this. I don't know the brief conversation, I had. I didn't even know the COG covered this in such detail before until I was volunteering with the Red Cross, complaining about something, and she told me who to speak with. I was like, wait a minute, I'm embarrassed. So I really did, because my mom just went to a nursing home last year, and she's on her second nursing home. It's been a nightmare until I called and started getting some help, and things started changing. But that was me protecting and defending my mom. But there's so many others that, there's no family members or there's no advocates that they can reach out to that they know. I'm not saying I'm going to a nursing home and tell everybody call this person, but I just need to be there for my mom. I need to be able to answer questions or send them somewhere for answers for themselves.
And I think that's important for each and every one of us. We all have moms and dads, and if they're still with us, we want to make sure that they are taken care of. So.
Really, and there's a resident rights poster in each facility at the front of the building usually with all the rights, and then the ombudsman's name and number at the bottom. Let's see, I'm gonna look for it. I'm Carolyn. We talked one day, yeah.
But did she say Lee in Johnson County though? Which
Jennifer Link is your ombudsman, but I returned the call for her one time because she couldn't call you back on that day.
Gotcha.
But you're-
And they're
They had a nice
Carolyn, keep everything over her.
you didn't get one.
I did. I thought maybe there was.
Back here. We've got-
And I have plenty more.
we've got
Thank you, 'cause I was wondering. Why does
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely.
And just for those folks who are online, what we're sharing is the brochure. It has the list of all the ombudsman on the back for the areas and by name, email, phone number and everything. So, and that'll be shared out.
That'll be shared out in the after action report. There'll be an electronic version that'll go out.
And I think that's a good idea, Lee, to bring them back again.
We will do that.
Definitely. I do want to move us along. I know we still have the consideration of request for the foreign trade zone sponsorship for Ideal Fasteners. And I want to make sure Alex is ready.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Alex Holloway. I've been with the COG for a couple of years. Since last year around this time, moved into the role as a planner, and part of my role is to help administer our region's foreign trade zone program. So I know it's been a couple of years since we've had a presentation at this level, and just as myself being new, just want to provide a quick refresher / introduction for those who may not know about it. But it's a federal program started in the 30s as part of the New Deal, and it helps companies that are here in the U.S. Defer or delay duty payments or taxes on their imports and exports. So it helps them really sort of save on that bottom line, and it's a really good business retention tool. And so we work with the U.S. Department of Treasury and Commerce. There's a small staff there to help companies that are interested apply. But part of our internal process is to have a couple of board reviews for companies that are interested. So back in July, Ideal Fasteners, who will be presenting here shortly, met with our local FTZ board to seek approval, and they unanimously agreed. And so now we have them here to present to the entire TJCOG Board of Delegates. And so we're really excited to introduce them. I don't want to take too much from their presentation, but they have a really good history and story right here in Granville County. And so wanted to pass it over. I see Joe and Stephen are both on the line, so I'll pass it over to them.
Good evening. Thanks everybody for your time. I think we have a presentation to share. Alex, was there basically any specifics, or we should do the same presentation we did back in July?
Yeah, same back in July.
Okay. I'm getting a Zoom message that I can't actually screen share.
We're working on it.
You co-host, hang on.
Okay.
All right, you should be good to go now.
All right. Okay, can everybody see that initial company snapshot? Okay, so just a brief background. The company was formed in the mid-1930s. We relocated about 1966. My father actually moved the business from New York down to North Carolina. My grandfather, who at the time was also very active in the business, chose North Carolina for the simple reason he liked the Triangle area was because he said we need to hire smart people. There's great universities there. Certainly NC State with the College of Textiles was a big draw, as well as many of the other local universities. So when they moved down, they ended up picking Oxford just because it was close enough to Raleigh. But I guess Granville County at the time was an attractive place for them to set up shop. So we've been up in Oxford since 1966. It's been a great experience, a great choice to move down to. I grew up in Raleigh. And today, even though I don't live in North Carolina, I'm up at the facility at least once a month, as well as my brother, who's my business partner and co-president of the company.
Take copious notes.
So we're very active there. We're looking to expand our operation there. And the FTZ, which I'm happy to answer any specific questions, that really enables us to be much more competitive for products that we're trying to win on programs when we export down to Mexico or to Central America, where today we're really just not that competitive because of the duties and taxes we're paying on product that we can import and then sell into Mexico or Central America. So that's really our interest in the program, but a little bit just more about the company. While Oxford is our U.S. home and our manufacturing center there, we also have 3 facilities in China, 1 in Bangladesh, 1 in India, 1 in Turkey. We have sales and support offices in probably close to 20 countries around the world where garments are either sewn, handbags are sewn, automotive seating, basically anywhere a zipper goes, we want to be as close to those garment manufacturers as possible. We domestically, our facility in North Carolina, there's really 4 buckets that we service. Number one, the U.S. military. We are an active supplier with the military. We just added approximately 25,000 square feet to our facility, really to help support military growth. That is really critically important for us because to be a U.S. military supplier, everything has to be made in America. So the FTZ really has nothing to do with what we're doing for the military. The complete supply chains made in America, including all of our raw materials. So, but it's an important part of our facility. So I just wanted to mention it. Automotive seating, that's an area where we're a relatively small player compared to our competitor, but a lot of room for growth there. But probably every zipper that goes in the back of a car seat, probably I would say 90% of those zippers are actually sewn in Mexico. So for us to be competitive from our North Carolina facility where we can finish the zipper, export it to Mexico, super critical and important if we have the FTC to help us on some of our programs or on certain raw materials. Then we're the #1 supplier for the zip-off mattress industry, mattress cover. So Tempur-Pedic, Sleep Number, Casper. Over the last 10 years, where zip-off mattress covers have really become a staple for consumers to have. That is a business we've really been successful. We have a lot of IP we've developed around certain patents for those products. Super complicated to go from making like 15-inch, 20-inch, 30-inch zippers to then make a 300-inch zipper that goes all the way around the mattress and has to stop at the exact same point. And that's something we probably developed that IP in our Oxford facility and make all that product in Oxford. And last but not least would be the apparel industry, which, as everybody knows, as a consumer, that is the largest segment of zipper usage. And we make a lot of product that we have the ability to export to Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua. And part of the zipper is made in North Carolina. Other parts get imported. If we could have an FTZ, we think we could really grow that business a lot because the part that is imported would make us much more price competitive to be able to go after more programs that today we're just not competitive on. Over here, this just gives you an idea of the different brands we work with, mainly in apparel. You'll see there kind of in the center and left. The top right is some of the automotive seating companies we support. And bottom right, just some of the mattress brands I spoke about. Anybody that's ever interested in taking a tour of a zipper factory, please let me know. We'd love to have you up in Oxford, but you'll see everything from A to Z. We get yarn in, and a lot of those raw materials are in North Carolina based, actually, like Unify, who's over in Greensboro. They're one of our key yarn suppliers, which you can see in this middle picture, then goes into a loom to make the zipper tape. And then American Eford, which is a large sewing thread supplier. They're actually in Western North Carolina. So we have a lot of domestic suppliers where we can for the more vertical part of our operation. And then the FTZ will help us on things that we can't get locally or that aren't part of our manufacturing lines here. But we do everything from weaving the tape, making the zippers, dyeing the zippers in any color anybody needs, assembling those zippers, going through all the quality control inspection requirements, and then getting them shipped out to all those industries and customers we spoke about. I am probably speaking very fast, but I know it's you guys have a busy agenda. So if I'm going too fast, please slow me down if you have any specific questions. This slide just is a bit of a footprint of where we are I spoke a little bit about it, but really where we need the support of the FTZ is right here for our Oxford facility. And then our last slide that we had in here was just cool. We thought to share. This is just a picture of our facility up in Oxford. You'll all notice the solar panels. We actually started solar panels in 2014. We did this first about 1/3 of the facility then we did a phase 2 a few years later, and then last year we just put a phase 3 on. Today we have approximately 2,200 solar panels, which helps us on about 20% of our our power requirements. We're still 80%, you know, on grid with Duke, but we've got 20% that we can be independent on. And that was a very quick explanation about Ideal Fastener, but I'd love to answer questions if anybody has any. And I appreciate everybody's time this evening. And I'll hand it over to any questions.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we would appreciate you sharing those slides so we can include it in the after action report. I do believe if there's anyone that has questions, I'm going to ask you to keep it as brief as possible, just acknowledging that we're a little bit behind time, and then just go right ahead.
With the FTZ, do you anticipate adding jobs? And is your jobs normally higher than the average wage in Granville County?
Yeah, it's a great question. So certainly job creation, yes. As I was saying before, we lose certain programs or can't bid on them because, you know, if we're paying like 35% tariffs on imports, that just basically makes us uncompetitive in winning certain programs. So we see it as, you know, the reason we're really doing this is to be able to grow and go after programs we normally don't do. If we're successful with that, that'll certainly help us, you know, with employment. In terms of wage competitiveness, you know, I don't want to answer a question without having the facts or the real details, but what I can say is that, you know, in Oxford, there's basically today only 3 large industrial manufacturing based employment centers. You have Bandag, who's next door to us, which is a tire rethreading facility. You've got Certainteed, which is roof shingles and roofing. And then you have Revlon, who has been in the news quite a lot lately. I hope that facility will stay there because I think it's good for Oxford. But they've had a number. I think they'll be fine, but I think they filed for bankruptcy protection recently. But you know, those 4, including us, are really the big facilities in terms of manufacturing or industrial employment. There's a few smaller ones. There's Shelag Industries. But, you know, our biggest challenge today is not, I would say, pay. It's getting people that want to work in a factory. That's really, it's a long conversation for another day. And I know you mentioned we're tight on time, but we're constantly struggling with finding a young, energetic workforce that's going to show up, you know, 40 hours a week, show up on time, work hard, be committed, look to build a career where they can grow. But, you know, we don't really think pay is the issue. And the reason I can say that is, like, we've raised wages tremendously throughout what's happened during the pandemic, but we still see a high turnover. You know, we have our long-term employees that have been with us 10, 20, 30 years. It's the next generation that keeps us up at night about how to get them engaged and look for a career in manufacturing.
I think I heard you were adding jobs. I didn't catch if it was higher than average wage. I didn't catch that part.
I don't know how you define higher than average wage, so I don't want to
What's your lowest wage start, like your lowest starting wage?
I believe it's $15 an hour to come in without any skill sets. If you have skill sets, mechanics, technicians, it's usually in the 20s. And then, there's a very diverse range of compensation based on, skill sets. Again, we have NC State graduates from engineering programs that make six figures, but so it's really a very diverse compensation pool. But if you come in with no skill sets and a good attitude, you'll start at 15.
Thank you. And I know that Tom White, the board chair for FTZ is here. I didn't know if you wanted to add a comment.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a native of Durham, so I've been there.
And there's the word. He forgot to say it.
This company, if you go on their website, it says customer obsessed, innovative, collaborative, and global. So the manufacturing jobs are so important. We're working on our regional workforce. Alex is doing a fantastic job. He asked me to say that. And it coincides with Lindsay says too. This is what made, we're a manufacturing region. We still have textiles. We have the largest textile school in America at NC State with the Non-Wovens Institute. It's a new form of textiles, but they have good jobs at good wages. So we're excited about this. We're globally competitive too. So we were thrilled, and we have a terrific foreign trade zone. We really do. And Harry Mills is the economic developer of Granville County. He brought this project to us. So we're just thrilled to have your attention. These meetings are so uplifting as we try to solve regional problems with leadership. So we're pleased to bring this forward to you for your review, consideration, hopefully endorsement.
And I thank you for those comments. And I want to encourage you, Stephen, to stay engaged with the COG, just acknowledging there is an economic development core that does try to address that type of an issue in the long term, version or in a more in-depth conversation for the long term. And I think it would be great to have you on that committee conversation.
Madam Chair, if there's no more discussion, I make a motion to accept the foreign trade zone.
Thank you. And I think that will come up in our consent agenda, so I appreciate that.
If there's no other questions, I'll stop the screen share and turn it over. I'm sure you guys also have other matters to discuss this evening, but certainly don't want anybody to think we're rushing.
Oh no, you're no rush. We know that Alex has done his due diligence to make sure that we brought forward a great project. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for your time this evening, and I do look forward, and I'll ask Harry Mills. We'll try to get more engaged about those long-term issues. But we've been in North Carolina a long time. We plan on staying there as long as we have customers, and we work endlessly for our customers. As somebody mentioned, we are customer obsessed. So thank you for your consideration this evening.
Thank you again. And excited about Ideal Fasteners. I'm definitely coming for a tour.
Anytime.
Okay, and just moving us along. Again, just know we're still a little behind. We're going to catch up though. The receiving information for the National Association for Regional Councils Forum report. Kathleen and Don, I know that you can make it brief.
I will make it brief. Just one part of it is we met on Thursday evening for our dinner meal, and it was in Kannapolis. And as Tom White knows, Kannapolis was the capital for textiles. The whole town was owned by the Cannon family, and about 1990, textiles went offshore. So the town tore down all the textile mills, 20,000 jobs, and started as a research center where a lot of the mills were. And brief, the town bought the business district from the Cannon family, resold it, put a baseball park there, and got $120 million loan. It's been paid for. Kannapolis is a great thriving community, as an example of someone reinventing themselves. The board meeting, council and government meeting started off with introduction from Dr. Jennifer Clyburn Reed, who is now the chairman of the Southeastern Crescent Regional Commission, which is very similar to the Appalachian Regional Commission that we know a lot about. Helps the Appalachian area thrive or grow in healthcare and other items. So it's her mission basically from North Carolina to Mississippi, a lot of the eastern counties, but also the urban counties, helping with rural health, economic development. The mission is great. There is funding for loans, particularly in healthcare, to start rural healthcare or help the rural hospitals, but particular areas that are starving in terms of food, in terms of wages. That's part of her mission. Other part of the meeting was the COG Association received $10 million in ARP money from the General Assembly to help administrate regional ARP projects. And so each of the 16 COGs will be doing their share of administrating those programs throughout the COGs.
And I want to make sure that you're going to share these notes, because I understand you have more notes. You're going to share these notes with us for the after action report as well, right?
I will.
Okay.
And we talked about aging programs, legislative committee, and other items that's essential for the COGS to exist. Kathleen, are you where you can share anything with us?
I don't know if you can hear me.
We can.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh my God. Sorry, I am traveling and on a tiny little screen. No, Don, you covered it well. I was can't underscore the opportunities through the Southeast Crescent enough.
We can barely hear you.
Oh, in other words, never mind then. I'll just
Heard that.
I'll go back on mute. Don covered it well.
We look forward to having you in person next meeting.
I will be. I won't be traveling, but I am traveling right now.
So, thank you. And Don, following up, you have the next item as well.
I do. We had a vacancy of second vice chairman for the organization. The nominating committee, Jennifer and Rebecca and 3 or 4 others met in late May. And on the agenda, we nominated for the second vice chairman for the secretary treasurer. Wilma Laney wanted to stay as secretary treasurer. So our new second vice chairman is Butch Lauder, who is the chair of the Johnston County Commissioners. He's been with Johnston County as a commissioner for 4 years. Prior to that, he was a delegate for the town of Clayton to the COG. He was the town commissioner. And I don't know whether this can be moved to the consent agenda or has to be voted on.
I think we made a motion to move to consent.
I think if you want to make a motion to move it to consent and see if there are any nominations from the floor. If they're not, then I think the board can put it on consent for a vote.
I move that we move forward with the nomination if there's no other nominations and put on the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
If anyone wants to volunteer, now's your time.
I don't know whether Butch is with us tonight, but join us later.
And I will note that Butch did reach out and let me know, or Chair Lauder did reach out to let me know that he had work this evening that came up abruptly, so he couldn't make it this evening, but he's excited about moving forward. So.
Madam Chair, just point out there's a difference between the written report here and the screen.
That change was what Don was explaining.
Right. Yes,
Wilma's asking to stay as the secretary treasurer. But thank you. I appreciate it. And if do we have to do roll call for that?
It's your prerogative.
If there are no others volunteering, I'm going to take that motion and move it to consent.
Trying to save you time.
Thank you. And the next item is a consent agenda. And hold on, I read that note copiously. And we had a motion from Don and a second from Jennifer. I'm sorry. Should I say Councilmember Ray? I'm sorry.
Say whatever you say. Then you second for the entire consent agenda.
And if you'd make the motion for the entire consent agenda, Don?
So move.
Thank you. And I'll call for a roll call vote. Chantal? I think we've had some folks now. Thank you for helping us move along.
All right, I will say the local government or jurisdiction, if the delegate is present or the alternate, 1 vote per local government. Aberdeen?
Wilma Laney votes aye.
Andrew?
Bob Smith, aye.
Apex? Archer Lodge? Benson?
Cassandra Stack, aye.
Thank you. Broadway?
Broadway votes aye.
Cameron? Scarborough?
Randy Haven O'Donnell votes aye.
Carthage? Carrie?
Crystal Robinson, aye.
Chapel Hill? Chatham County? Clayton? City of Durham?
City of Durham, Deidreana Freeman votes aye.
Durham County?
Heidi Carter, aye.
Fuquay Varina? Garner?
Garner votes aye.
Hillsborough?
Hillsborough, Kathleen Ferguson votes aye. In case you can't hear me.
No.
Holly Springs?
Councilman Tim Forrest votes, Holly Springs votes aye.
Johnson County? Kinley? Nightdale?
Nightdale votes aye.
Lee County?
Lee County, Bill Carver, aye.
Micro? Moore County? Morrisville?
Marshall Satish Garmala votes aye.
Orange County?
Sally Green, aye.
Pine Level? Pinehurst?
Pinehurst, Jeff Morgan votes aye.
Pittsboro?
Town of Pittsburgh, Pamela Baldwin, aye.
Princeton?
Don Raines, aye.
Raleigh? Robbins? Roseville?
Roseville votes aye.
Sanford?
Rebecca Salmon votes aye.
Selma,
Byron McAllister, aye.
Siler City, Smithfield,
Andy Moore, aye.
Southern Pines, Vass, Wake County,
Susan Evans, aye.
Wake Forest, Wendell,
Wendell Joe Deloach, aye.
Wilson's Mills,
Wilson's Mills votes aye.
Zebulon. Is there anyone I may have missed in the vote? All right, and we have a vote that's passed.
Thank you. And as we move to the next item, our executive director's report. No items have been removed from the consent agenda. I think you have a
I do.
presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And
Just want to let you know you have 7 minutes.
all right, I'll do my best. We have a lot. Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome to being chair. Just a few things that I wanted to let you know about. We continue to be really lucky to have a great staff. I think you see that in the presentations today and the introductions of new staff members, and there's just a lot of really great things going on in the region and with the organization. So just thank you to our staff for all the great work that they're doing. I want to, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a special thank you to Nancy Medlin. I know Jenny thanked her, but with Nancy being here, Nancy's supposed to be retired. She is not, because she's working with us, and she has really done just such a great job filling in as our interim finance director. We originally brought Nancy on to work with both Mid-Carolina and us, Mid-Carolina Regional Council, which is Cumberland, Harnett, and Sampson, to think about a couple things, better serving our local governments when they have finance needs, and then the possibility of us maybe bringing our finance operations together and having a merged finance operation. And I'm happy to report that I think in the next few days or week or so, we'll be making an announcement about our new chief finance officer, which I'm really excited about. Can't say the person now, but we're close. So hopefully Nancy will be able to go back to doing some other things for Mid-Carolina and us, but she's just done a wonderful job, and we're just really so lucky to have her. Thank you. So we appreciate it. In terms,
I'll pay you later.
okay, thank you. So in terms of a couple other direct local government assistance items, we were very happy to work with the town of Carthage in the placement of their new town manager, who actually was an internal promotion. Miss Emily Yop is the new town manager for the town of Carthage. We are working, I know past Chair Baldwin is on, and I think Mr. Bonnets is on. We are helping Pittsboro identify a potential for their interim town manager. Their town manager is taking another position, and they're interviewing a candidate tomorrow. So we were very happy to assist Pittsboro with that. Also, I wanted to say something really quickly about Kenley. I know most of you have probably seen in the news some of the difficulty that's going on in Kenley. And I just want to say to this board that we are committed to helping our local governments, whether they're going through really good times or going through tough times. And so we have been communicating with Kenley and their town manager and have been assisting them on a number of different items. And we'll continue to assist. I spoke with her actually today, their town manager, about a couple things. We have partnered with Mid Carolina to put an interim town clerk in Kinley. We had a couple of police chiefs down there to assist in some items around the police department. We're helping them with some items around finance and their audit and some other things. So just wanted to let you know that we are working with Kinley as best we can to support them during this difficult time. Couple other things. We're really happy. Mayor Raines mentioned the $10 million going to the COG Association to support the 16 COGs around American Rescue Plan. We are actually going to be working with the COG Association to administer those funds on behalf of the 16 COGs. You know, Tara's involved in that, Elena's involved in that. But it's a really good tip of the hat to the capability of our staff that the 16 COGs have asked us to be the ones to help administer those monies on behalf of the COG Association. Another example is we have been administering over $1 million on behalf of the Division of Environment or the Department of Environmental Quality, DEQ, around housing. And that has been a partnership where we've administered some ARP money, sent that out to the COGs to do housing rehabilitation. So the state's been really pleased, and which may mean we may get more money. And we're continuing to administer $20 million on behalf of Wake County of their ARP money with 70 community organizations. And we have a couple of part-time staff members that are doing wonderful with that. Past Chair Raines also mentioned the Southeast Crescent, which is a really, really big deal. We're going to be talking about that more. We're working with the State Department of Commerce to have a presentation to this board about that no earlier than January. Probably sometime in the winter, early spring of 2023, as they begin ramping up that program. And as the mayor said, if you're familiar with the Appalachian Regional Commission, that is what this commission is going to be doing in this part of the state and a couple other states. Finally, mark your calendars for November 2nd. If you haven't already, that's the date of our regional summit. We are going to be focusing on mental health, especially mental health when it comes to all of our staff members and public employees and public workers in this region. And more to come on that. It'll be at Dorothea Dix complex, which obviously, as you all know, has a very intimate connection with mental health. And so we're excited about sharing more about that summit in the coming month or so. Madam Chair, that's all I have. Thank you.
Oh, great. With time to spare. No, I'm joking, but I will say that moving to the chair's report, I don't have much, just started today, but I will say I do thank Lee and past Chair Ferguson and past Chair Raines for actually making this a lot simpler than it probably has been in the past. And I appreciate staff for making sure that everything is laid out so I don't have to try and figure it out for myself, because that would be awful. And I just want to say I am open for conversations and thoughts and ideas around what might need to happen in these meetings that could be helpful. And so please feel free to share that with me. I will say my email address, deidreana.freeman@durhamnc.gov, is always open and available. I will share my cell phone number with some of you, not all. But yeah, I do hope that we can find a way to make this meeting even more useful than it's been in the past. I think over the years of my coming here, I've always had a chance to learn about different areas, whether it's, aging or the FTZ or so many other areas, housing, transportation. And so I do look forward to chairing some of these meetings. I will tell you, it will be a bear to get through some of the others, but I do want to work together to get us through them quickly and efficiently as possible. Thank you. That's all.
I'd like to comment as a new guy on where the power lies. I see the league gets 7 minutes and you get 8.
As long as we know where the power lies. But
Very well aware.
But that will take us to the end of our meeting and around the region, giving all those who have pressing and very exciting news to share, a chance to share. I won't go by city and state and county. I'll just allow folks to kind of popcorn it and see if we can't get through it in 10 minutes.
Nope.
Let's see what we can do.
And if
Let's start online.
okay, we'll start online if you want to jump in, or you can raise your hand and myself or Chantel or Jenny will see that and we'll help the chair recognize you. Whatever you want to do.
Oh, this is awesome. If no one's got anything, this is gonna I know it's the summer, everyone's just getting geared up.
Oh, somebody.
Yes, this is John Bonnets in Pittsburgh. And
Okay.
I did just want to quickly say, Mr. Worsley, thank you so much for your rapid response. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Day in and day out.
That's right.
Yeah. Any others online? I'm not turning to the room yet. But
Since you can't hear me anyway.
we can hear you now.
You can hear me now? Really? Okay. I will be really quick since who knows how long it will last. But this Friday is going to be major Last Fridays in Hillsborough. We will continue to have Last Fridays in September. Hog Day is back, and what's exciting is it is going to be one of the 21 barbecue festivals that is being juried as part of the North Carolina Barbecue Association. So that is September 15th, 16th, if I've got my dates right, on that Friday and Saturday. So y'all come on to Hillsborough and enjoy some crafts and fun and amazing barbecue, but you will have to get there early because normally when we have the barbecue festival, it's gone by 11:30 on Saturday.
That's just mine.
Okay. I see a hand. It says ADM. I'm not sure.
That is Mr. Marshburn, if that's my hand.
Oh, that was your hand.
Well, since you mentioned my name, I'll be happy to I wasn't sure how to raise my hand, but at any rate, thank you, Lee, for doing that for me. Yeah, we're pretty excited over in Garner over the fact that we met, myself and the town manager, with officials from Wake Med. And so looks like we will hopefully, before so long, have our own hospital here in the good town of Garner. Wake Med has filed a certificate of need on August the 15th, and the purpose will be to build a 45-bed acute care hospital in Garner. And the groundbreaking, of course, may not happen until the fall of 2024, and the anticipated opening will be sometime after that. But I think anytime you can attract a hospital to your area, it's great for the town and our citizens and for the area in general. And so we look forward to going forward with that process and dotting all of our I's and crossing our T's and having a groundbreaking here at the proper time in the future. Thank you.
So for full disclosure, I voted on that. I'm on the Wake Med board.
Great job, Satish. Take all the credit. And I think that's all online.
Let me just jump in real quick. This is Wilma Laney. I just want to say, Aberdeen has the second smallest library. It's really a historical library and it's the second smallest in the state. And so we got an old wholesale grocery building that's pretty large and it's perfect. It's in the historic district. And we're going to turn that into a library. And I'm very excited about it. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I just wanted you to know that I'm excited about it. And hopefully once we get it together, you'll come and visit us. And I did want to say to you, Deanna, that good job. And we had a great meeting.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're almost there. And I don't want to miss any news out there. So I'm not trying to cut folks from sharing, but I do want to make sure that we do give you a chance and give going once, going twice online, and I'm looking away. So around the room. Sorry.
Well, since I see Councilmember Haven O'Donnell on the screen, and speaking of libraries, which I support and love libraries, just want everyone to realize that the county of Orange County is in collaboration with Carrboro, just broken ground on a new library in Carrboro. And it's going to be a fantastic facility and really excited about that. Great collaboration between two governments.
Great.
I want to say congratulations to both of you for having a library because Roseville still does not have a library, but we're hopeful that one day you'll get one.
Is Wake County on the line?
I am, and I can say that the plans are that Roseville is on the top of the list when we have our next library bond.
There you go.
You all are trying, so let me just say that as well.
Anyway, just looking around. Everyone's looking away.
We're done. Can I just ask you all to please, send prayers to, we lost our chief, our fire chief this past week and last week. And we're just devastated because he was really, really important. He was such a community person. He was just such a really good friend to so many. And to have lost him so unexpectedly, we're going to feel that for a long time.
Yes.
Selma, North Carolina, on Friday, the Old North State Food Hall is going to open up at exit 97 on I-95. It's at the corner of 70 and Jarrett Road, right off 97 on I-95. That's a project we've been waiting to see for several years. The inside of it's absolutely beautiful. Probably one of the first of its kind, particularly off of a highway. I encourage you all to go check it out. Exit 97, I-95. Check it out.
Exit 97. Okay.
Old North State Food Hall. Old North State. This is sort of the sign of the times. We have a water sewer project that was funded by USDA Rural Development for 1.2 million. The bids came in at 2.4 million.
Oh, boy. And I'm checking around the room one more time and online one more time. And if that is all, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
That's all. Thank you.